Joining me now is News Corp columnist Louise Roberts and news.com.au entertainment reporter Bronte Coy. Bronte, you're in London and attended trooping yesterday. Can you run us through the schedule for the event and tell us about the atmosphere?
What a year to be here for Trooping the Colour. It all looks so uncertain, like we just said in that package at the top. You know, a few months ago, we had Charles with his cancer and Kate with her cancer. We didn't know if either of them would even be able to attend. So being on the ground there yesterday, the excitement was palpable. It was an incredible display of pageantry. It really is one of the most exciting and most high-profile events on the royal calendar. So having Kate make her cautious return to public duties at Trooping the Colour was really just the perfect scenario. As soon as she rolled out in that carriage, and we saw that in the vision, but I was right at the front, so I could see her quite close, and she just had the biggest smile on her face. She was beaming at the crowd, who absolutely roared when they saw her. There was so much excitement, and that was despite the fact that that London was putting on its best British weather display, which was blue skies and then seconds later torrential rain, and everyone had been standing out there for hours, actually. Some people had camped out overnight just to get a glimpse of them. So it was absolutely thrilling. It was so exciting, and it was an incredible return to the public eye for Kate. And I'll tell you, she's been missed. You could tell by the atmosphere there, she had really been missed.
And Louise, as a first return event for Princess Catherine, how significant is this?
Well, Carol, it's significant on many levels, in particular the fact that, you know, she's well enough to attend this parade, and it's reassurance about how well her treatment is going for cancer as well. And I think also, as Bronte says, the aligning of the diaries. This is the most important event on the royal calendar. It's the King's birthday parade, but it really was Kate's day. And if she'd not been there on the balcony, it would have sent a very clear message that things aren't going to plan for her. But in fact, she was on the balcony, she was in the carriage with her children, and you could see her laughing and smiling, and all that beautiful chit chat and the moments with with King Charles as well was just amazing. I think, as Bronte says, everyone was so delighted to see her, and she was very strategic. There was no sort of look at me. She was looking at the cameras, so she knew that people wanted to see that she was okay and she's progressing well. So I think all in all, a triumph for Kate, really.
Absolutely. And look, given the privacy around Princess Catherine's battle with cancer, and rightly so, zero criticism from me, we have missed so much of the interaction between the Prince and Princess of Wales and their children. Bronte, the behind-the-scenes video released by the Palace in the lead up to Trooping the Colour was a welcome return to that interaction that we've all gotten used to. Let's have a look at it here. Bronte, we've missed this.
Absolutely. This is one of my favourite new PR strategies of Kate and Williams, because it does give us this sort of access to the behind the scenes of their lives that we really don't get from the royal family traditionally. I mean, imagine the Queen, the late Queen Elizabeth, releasing a video like that. But I love that they do, because people really just like to get that glimpse of their family life. It kind of bridges the gap between the formalities of the royal family and the informal, which is that they are just a family with 3 young kids. And also adding to it this time around is the fact that this video shows, again, Kate looking, she's smiling, she's playing with Charlotte's hair at one point. It's all very relaxed and happy, and it gives hope. I mean, she is a princess, but she's also a person who's dealing with cancer, and her family are the people that are watching that happen and trying to support her, and that's something a lot of people can relate to. So seeing her, you know, looking happy, looking relaxed, spending time with her family and showing up for work, you know, it does give a lot of hope. And this one really echoed the behind the scenes coronation video we saw last year, which was also spectacular. I do recommend a rewatch. But yeah, it's just great to have them back in this capacity and to get those glimpses of how they've been faring, which it seems good lately.
Now, Prince Louis never fails to steal the show. Here's a clip of the young prince having a boogie on the royal balcony.
Of F Company's Scots Guards. So we're enjoying boogieing along to that.
That was just brilliant, but that wasn't the only excellent Prince Louis moment. There was also this.
The Scots Guards. Prince Louis. Stealing the show as ever.
And then he was also pulled into line by his sister, Princess Charlotte, who reminded him of how he needed to stand. Louise, he just makes these events so joyful.
I know, isn't he just a gorgeous little boy? He really is. And he's not a naughty kid. He's obviously been well schooled in protocol. He just lives in the moment, and we live to see him at these events, as you say. The fact that he busts a move on the balcony, and there's a great amount of footage before the actual event where Kate is sort of crouched down or sat down next to him near the balcony doors, and she's clearly explaining to him or reminding him of what's required of him on the balcony. But I do feel that Kate and William sort of work with Louis, given his age. There's also some great footage of William sort of tickling Louis' ears when the fly pass is happening. So I see they've got a great technique in not admonishing him or telling him off in public, but rather sort of working around his sort of very big personality that he has as a little boy. I think it'll be a sad day when he's a teenager and he's no longer busting those moves out on the balcony.
He's an absolute highlight at every one, particularly the more formal the event and the more that Louis is Louis, it's just absolutely divine. But Louise, staying with you, and in a rather, I suppose, jarring paradox, while Trooping the Colour is happening, Meghan is on the other side of the pond spruiking jam and dog biscuits. Now, was this intentional or was it a mishit?
Well, I would argue that this is sort of intentional, but also a bit of a mishit because the timing was very, very poor. Instead of doing the classy thing and sending a very public message, particularly to Charles and Kate, given their cancer battle, all the best for Trooping the Colour today, I hope it goes well, or something, in a Meghan style. Instead, one of Harry's polo friends was putting up Instagram pictures of dog biscuits and raspberry jam. Now, I don't blame him at all. Clearly, Meghan had a hand in this. But to take the spotlight away from her father-in-law and sister-in-law is really, really poor form, I think. I don't think anyone cares about jam or dog biscuits at a time when the whole world's attention, in particular, is on Kate and her bravery on the world stage and being very stylish, unlike her sister-in-law, who really has put herself in the doghouse by spruiking products and not focusing on the royal family. Very poor indeed.
Sometimes the best thing to do is absolutely nothing. And Bronte, a report this week suggesting that Harry and Meghan would leave the US if Trump was elected, that there is a celebrity favourite. Is that why Harry's looking for a residence in the UK?
Well, there's a bit going on here. Harry no longer has police protection in the UK, and they were, as we know, Harry and Meghan were evicted from Frogmore Cottage, which was within the palace ground, within the royal estate. Last year, they were evicted there by King Charles. So at the moment, when Harry comes over to the UK, which he has done a number of times recently, he stays in a hotel. So that's obviously not a really good long-term plan. And also he has been making it clear, he did an interview earlier this year after he came and saw King Charles following his cancer diagnosis, where he's indicated that he'd like to spend more time in the UK. Probably it's the case that he would like to, have his children have some sort of relationship with his family in the future. And it's just extremely unlikely that any of the royals would go to the US to see them. So it's kind of bridging that gap. There's been just a little bit of noise apparently from their camp, indicating that they are looking to sort of ease back into some sort of UK residency. With Harry, he hasn't spent time with his UK friends either. That's the other part. We often talk about the royal family and the fact he doesn't see them, but he also hasn't seen much of his UK friends. So again, if he has a bit of a base here, it's a way to sort of interact with people and sort of rebuild a little after a time where it does seem like, he hasn't had a lot to do with people from his old British life. It makes a lot of sense that they are looking to sort of create something that's a little bit more permanent here, because the hotel stays, if he is going to continue coming over here, it's not really a good long-term plan.
And we obviously don't get to see a lot of what goes on behind the closed doors at the palace, but a report this week from a palace insider that Meghan is the second biggest diva after Princess Margaret. Now, Louise, I've got just over a minute for you. Does that sound about right to you?
Well, it's interesting what your measure of being a diva is. I mean, Princess Margaret was well known for being quite demanding, in fact, even quite rude at times. You know, would be invited to dinner with her aristocratic mates and turn up 2, 3, 4 hours late. I don't think they cared. I think the cachet of having Princess Margaret at your table was worth any price to pay, really. And I don't think that a diva situation has really been Meghan's problem so far. It's more about the campaign of vilification she's waged against her husband's family and her own in-laws as well. So it's interesting that Jenny Bond, who's a very experienced and well-respected former BBC royal commentator, has actually sort of connected the two of them. So what would have been interesting if Princess Margaret had been alive and had met Meghan, what the dynamic would have been there, I think, in a way. But yeah, to say that Margaret's a bigger diva is probably true in a way, because I think there's other issues with Meghan and the royal family, rather than being demanding or, you know, expecting freebies, etc., etc.